Watch out, this podcast may contain adult content. We're brought to you today by Altered Reality Entertainment, the creators of Empire State Comic-Con. Check it out at escomiccon.com. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to On the Case, an investigative television podcast with Casey and Eli. We're talking about all the living, breathing, remaining characters ahead of the final season of Game of Thrones. And then we're going to review all the episodes of Game of Thrones each week as they come out. We're very excited for the final season. Casey, who are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about the young wolf, Bran Stark.
Bran Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bran cereal. You know what Bran cereal is? Bran is the blandest kind of cereal. Just like Brandon Stark, the blandest character in the show.
He's a really important character, actually.
He is very important. Yes,
and he has a lot. Right. He's like basically the other chosen one. If Jon's the chosen one, he's also the chosen one.
Well, then tell me a little bit about him.
So he's the youngest, besides Rickon. Well, he's the youngest remaining, and he's of the Stark family. He is also the three-eyed raven. Mm-hmm. His powers go beyond warging. He can see into the past. He can see things that are happening now, and he can see things that have yet to come. He is connected to the Weirwood network through powers of partially his blood being of the First Men, and also this power that's kind of bestowed upon him through the Weirwood net and the Children of the Forest.
Yep.
So his powers are very different than anyone else's in the show. It's basically the only one that can do what he does, aside from kind of the Night King, whose powers mirror his own in many ways. Mostly the foresight and being able to see into the history and warging. His powers are very mysterious still to this day. We don't really know what all he's capable of.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that kind of defines that is, can he interact with the past? Because we don't believe he can see the future. He can only see events that have already happened that the eyes of the Weirwoods have seen. So he can't, like, future be like, oh, this is what happens.
No, I think it's...
He can communicate across time and space, it would seem.
Yes, he can influence the past in slight ways. No, he definitely can. He definitely can.
Yeah, because they
hint at it when he calls out to Ned at the Tower of Joy. And Ned kind of hears something, a whisper on the wind.
True, and then it's confirmed when he...
Hodor.
Yeah.
With Hodor, it's like a time loop paradox sort of thing. It's his own thing, and it changed the game. It doesn't just make Hodor's story beautiful and tragic. It also shows us that Bran can do things that can influence the story and probably already have. Mm-hmm. Some people think he's Bran the Builder. He built the wall. He built Winterfell. Some people think that he's the one who whispered to the Mad King that drove him crazy to burn them all. But he wasn't talking about King's Landing. He was talking about the oncoming threat of the White Walkers. Yeah. So there's lots of great theories about Bran, and none of them can really be confirmed or denied at this point.
Yeah.
Because his powers are so mysterious. There's a lot we don't know yet. What we do know is that he has gone a long way and learned a lot, and now is a shadow of himself because he basically got downloaded the entire history of Westeros. And so if he's an ocean of knowledge, a drop of water in that ocean is the Bran Stark he used to be.
Yeah. Well, and you just said that that he's gone on a long journey and he's learned a lot.
Yeah.
He's lost a lot too.
A ton.
And actually, I was going to tell you that we probably shouldn't have even called this episode Bran Stark Theories or Brandon Stark. Like, we shouldn't have even said it's Brandon Stark because Brandon Stark is dead. Yep. He is the three-eyed raven.
True.
So we might have to rename this, or I might even say something in the description about that. But like, for all like extensive purposes, there's no more Brandon Stark.
No.
It's the three-eyed raven now.
And he doesn't want the title of Bran Stark. He doesn't want to be the Lord of Winterfell. Mm-hmm. He just wants to do his part in saving the world in whatever way he can. He wants the sacrifices of Summer, Hodor, Mir's brother Jojen, Osha, all the people to be for a reason. Yeah, to save lives, more lives than they lost, hopefully.
So, we last see him hard owning Littlefinger in the chambers at Winterfell.
Actually, the last place we see him is in the Godswood.
True.
Because he sees through the eyes of the ravens the wall coming down.
The wall coming down. But like my last scene with him was that him owning, just hard wrecking.
Yeah.
Littlefinger.
Yeah. Well, Littlefinger is really great at what he does, but he didn't foresee that there'd be someone with amazing mental gifts of foresight and all that.
How do you plead, Lord Baelish?
Lord.
So good. Okay, so I kind of want to transition right into the. Actually, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Can we start with happy and sad endings instead of top and worst moments?
Okay.
Can we? Because I want to pivot into something specifically here.
Endings are going to go into theories real fast. So
yeah,
there's a lot of great theories about Bran, and mine are kind of a hodgepodge of.
Yeah, we're gonna jump around in this one because there's a lot of things to cover.
We'll jump around just like Bran does. Through time and space and theories.
Okay, so I brought up that Bran's kind of dead, and this is the three-eyed raven going forward in this body that Bran has, and of course there's those parts that are gonna tie him. But I wanted to bring up his happy ending because, for me, the fan servicey version of this is that Sean Bean does come back for one scene in the final season. And it's Bran warging into the Black Cells and getting to have one last conversation with his dad. I think that would be a really cool ending to the show.
There's actually some evidence to that happening.
Yeah, and I would love for Ned to have died knowing where his family ends up. Bran just basically, Bran gives him a download. He's like, hey, and he's like, how are you here? Who are you? He's like, I'm your son. I have powers of the North, or the children of the Forest gave me these kind of just to kind of. But he does a download. He's like, hey, Arya becomes a fierce warrior. Sansa marries and becomes the queen. This kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then
John's safe in his parentage.
John is safe, and everyone accepts him for who he is.
And he finally gets to be.
And he is a Targaryen, and he rides
the
dragons.
White Walkers and everything.
Yeah, and then Ned's just yo, am I hallucinating?
Yeah.
Did they slip some peyote into my water?
Yeah.
Them starving me? Am I losing it? But then I would love.
That'd be really cool.
I would love Sean Bean to be in the final season, and I would love it to be Bran.
Yeah.
But I don't think that'll happen because I think
it'd be hard at this point
Bran's
for us
dead.
to not have heard that he was on set at some point, unless they were really crafty and filmed it in a green screen set somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's what you do. You would just Henry Hempstead, right? Is that his name? Henry Isaac Hempstead? Isaac Hempstead, right? I can't remember how you say it.
Isaac Hempstead.
Yeah,
I met him. He's really nice.
Oh, nice.
I met him at Colorado Springs. Or no, Denver last year.
Denver? Nice.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy.
Really great. Yeah, he's super nice. I tried to pick his brain and ask him some theories or say, what's Bran's real power? What's he going to do that's what do you think?
Yeah.
And he's like, you'll have to just tune in.
Yeah,
I'm you little son of a bitch, give me a hug. He was walking, it was great.
Oh, nice. Weird.
Super weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see that. And there's a tiny moment before when Varys is coming in to talk to Ned, where Ned is in complete darkness, and it looks as though he was already awake and had just been talking to somebody. It looked like he was surprised, Varys walked in to a conversation.
Gotcha.
So if they wanted to just take that footage they already had and put Isaac Hempstead right now as the Three-Eyed Raven, talking to him, it would actually kind of make sense. Because when Ned goes to die, he kind of does it with grace, and I don't think it's just because he's a badass and doesn't fear death. I think it's because he knew something. I think he knew things would be okay without him, and it's kind of comforting in a way. But yeah, so if we're talking about best endings for Bran, I think because he is not really Bran, I don't think he cares too much about all that stuff. About
the ultimate
stuff.
People being in charge of this.
Yeah.
Does Sansa find love? None of that stuff is his concern.
I think because he is one with the Weirwood net and with the history of Westeros, that his body should die. And that maybe his mind goes somewhere else.
He gets downloaded into the trees?
Yeah, maybe he just... he helps Sam maybe write a book about why you shouldn't chop down weirwoods and makes them a protected asset of the kingdoms.
Yeah.
You know, and that way
give a magical lore reason to hey, we need these for this, and this.
That they're
as a defense system against the whites returning.
Totally. Yeah. Or almost like a built-in history library, like an internet of the world, the veins that go through the planet.
You just messed up my brain. I have.
You like that?
No, because what I was going to say is it's almost what if he becomes the Yoda, and he trains people in the way of the Green Seers and the that. Wouldn't that be a cool ending?
He could project himself out.
Because I didn't think his body was going to die. What I was going to say is in my head I can't see his happy ending not be tied to going back north in being under a tree, like under the tree where the original?
I don't think he will. I think he might just
go to the Citadel and start teaching everyone like he's Professor X.
Well, they talk about a lot more in the books, but like the blood kind of fuels the weirwood net, and so like that's why like in the big tree north, there's like tons of bones and stuff everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it'd almost be like interesting if he like voluntarily died and his blood was poured into the Godswood tree there in Winterfell, and so like his spirit and everything kind of just went in and was part of the history. Okay. And like maybe if they do find the Children of the Forest at the Isle of Faces, maybe that's where he does it. Okay. Maybe he dies there.
Maybe he retires to the... Because, okay, so you think he's going to die, it sounds like.
I think it'd be too sad to make him just be that.
To be stuck in his body and like...
Yeah, but not be himself. It'd be like this weird vegetative state almost.
Okay.
And beyond his purpose of stopping this great war from consuming the entire planet, I think once that's saved... He won't need to be that anymore, but he can't go back to being Bran.
Gotcha.
Unless, actually, the happiest ending would be like if somehow he could go back to being Bran. If
and
once
the power, what if he downloads the power into the Weirwoods and then he gets to be himself again?
Or what if, like I said on other podcasts, like what if you defeat the Great Other, because the Great Other was never defeated. They were pushed back, and the wall was built to protect us away. If that power was truly extinguished. And so was the power of fire. Like the fire and ice were both collided, and it was like Neo and Mr. Smith. Like they couldn't both exist, but they both did. Then that would mean the power that he draws, that makes his being necessary and possible, would also be gone. Yeah. So then he would be left as Bran again.
This is getting real Harry Potter. Neither can live while the other survives. Like this is very Voldemort. Like
well, it makes sense. It makes sense because. When a power rises...
I'm going to lose it if,
the other power rises.
I'm going to lose it if Bran is just a Horcrux of the Night King.
Oh, or is the Night King.
Yeah, or is the Night King. And we're going to get to that in theories, because that's like everyone subscribes to that, and I really hope that that's not the
case.
There's
a lot of weird physical evidence, like their facial features, and like even like the
brooch
they wear that's the same.
Yeah, the note, yeah.
That if you used a lord... that would be of the first men, it would be probably a Stark before Starks were even called Starks. Yeah, but he did have blonde hair. I don't know.
Okay, so when it comes to sad endings, I don't think either of us believe there's a sad ending for Bran, right? Like, we've invested so much screen time, book time, so much
he's a top 5
energy
character.
Into it. I think that... Yeah. Because and I've talked about this to you personally and other times as well, that Bran is probably my least favorite character, and in the book, every time I got to a Bran chapter, I was... sighing and I just
for me that was Catelyn.
And the show only crystallizes more for me when they they benched him for a year, and I was hoping he was going to come back as Return of the Jedi. I thought he was going to come back, have all his powers, and cool, he's just going to be a badass now like Luke, and that didn't happen, and we still were seeing him build, and I was blown away by how he hadn't learned more or knew how to do more in that year away. And I know it's a power and it takes time and stuff, but it felt like I thought they were going to give us that year, him taking the break, so we didn't have to watch the training like we did with Arya. And we talked about how rough that was in season 5. It just didn't work mechanically.
Slow.
And they kind of did the same thing with Bran. And so in my head, I'm just
I think it's just because magic doesn't translate all that
as well. Because you have to explain it too much.
And they do explain parts of it. Yeah. And it's cryptic the way the Three-Eyed Raven speaks, but he does say things like, if you stay beneath the water too long, you'll drown. Mm-hmm. Meaning that when they talk about if you warg into an animal too long, you might lose who you are and become that animal forever. And over time, you won't even be you anymore. You're just an animal. And so I think it's the same way with going into the past. So I think he couldn't just immerse him like he did when he died and the download sort of thing happened, because
maybe you can't give up the whole power unless he is dead.
The water's too cold. You got to go toes first. Yeah. You jump right in, you might freeze or you might drown.
So as much as you say I should talk Bran or I'm down on him, I do, even if I don't enjoy his screen time or I'm not as excited about him being there, I do understand how important he is, and I am hoping for a big payoff.
The thing I love about Bran is his magic. The magic of him is so different than any other magic in the world of Westeros that it's fascinating to me, and it's so deeply rooted in the history, more so than anything else.
And I get he's very interesting, but I think my anxiety with the show is really tied into they really, really need to pay off how much time they invested in him on screen.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. I hope they're going to handle it. I have faith that they're going to handle it, But I really do need payoff there. Like it's one of the things. It's like that's like a sword or a dagger like to my gut. I need that to really be impactful.
Well, yeah, and I mean when George R. R. Martin wrote his original outline, there were 5 characters that made it to the end. Bran is one of those 5 characters.
Yeah.
And the reason they make him so important is because he has to be important.
Yeah.
He has to at least. If he doesn't stop the Night King completely, he has to do something that turns the tide against him that makes the Night King lose. Otherwise, it was for nothing.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of throw a sad ending at you.
Okay.
But it's something that is kind of a theory / what I think has already happened.
Okay.
And I think that the sad ending is that Bran does become the Night King.
Yeah.
And I do think that this is actually what's like. So let's say that Bran is the Night King theory is a thing, but it's the same kind of thing in Hodor, where it's like this paradox kind of cyclical thing where like
goes back and
whatever Bran's gonna do is going to lead him to becoming the Night King, but it's also going to be the thing that defeats the Night King. So like he's like, you know, destined to still become the Night King as he gets more powerful and he gets downloaded or whatever happens with his time interference nonsense.
Yeah.
But I think that like he's going to be like, oh, okay, so I in my present body defeat the Night King, but I have to still send my consciousness back to do everything that I did to become the Night King.
So Bran Current dies.
Yeah, Bran Current dies, killing or doing something that leads to the death of the Night King, but that also makes him become.
Yeah. So he just switches sides and then.
Yeah, so it's like the thing that happened to Hodor, but like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like a sad ending, but I can also see it being a theory / the thing that actually happens.
Yeah, that could be true.
I really don't want Bran to be the Night King. I just don't.
I don't think it all makes sense, but
especially in the context of the show, it doesn't make sense.
There's a lot of things about the Starks that are interesting though with Bran because Brandon is kind of like the most common name for them. Being that there's basically a Brandon in every generation of Starks. Mm-hmm. His uncle Brandon was supposed to be married to Catelyn, and then he died at the hands of the Mad King. Brandon the Builder founded House Stark. There's been so many Brandons. At one point, Old Nan says she can't tell them apart, which is also could be foreshadowing that it's because they were all the same Bran, just different times. And maybe Bran is all the Brans. Maybe. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Bran is all the brands.
Bran is all the brands. That's why Bran keeps coming back, and that's why his consciousness will echo through eternity.
Can you warg a lifetime of someone, though? Like, there's a baby born, and then you warg it, and you live their whole lifetime.
I don't know.
Is that how you could become the...
If the Night King can do it to a baby and make them a White Walker forever.
Because if...
And Bran's powers also come from the Children of the Forest, like the Night King's. It's possible. I'm just
blown away by like how like because in my head I'm like, no, Bran couldn't be the Night King because that blonde guy was the Night King, but Bran definitely could have warged into that guy, and that body was just a host for Bran's consciousness. And then maybe that's how the original Three-Eyed Raven gained so much knowledge, because he was thousands and thousands of years old, because even though his current body sitting at the tree was aging, he was going back in time and living entire lifetimes as people.
Well, and don't forget, it could be that the Night King is a Targaryen as well, because of the blonde hair. But the only problem is Targaryens weren't there.
Yeah, they shouldn't have been there yet. But why was there a blonde up there with the...
Yeah.
That just
you could be blonde and just be, a recessive gene of the first men. But the other thing is, Brendan Rivers, a.k.a. the Three-Eyed Raven, was a Targaryen. They do not talk about it in the show, but he was a Targaryen. He was a bastard from the Riverlands. That's why his name's Rivers. But he is of the Targaryen line.
See, is that from the book, or is our show Three-Eyed Raven also Brendan Rivers? Or is that just...
They never say.
They never say,
Rivers.
Yeah, okay.
They just say the Three-Eyed
Raven. I would
Raven.
bank on that he's not Brendan Rivers, but I see why you're connecting the dots.
If you think about the way he looks, it kind of reminds me of like
Aemon,
and it kind of reminds me of the Mad King with his long hair, depending on the iteration.
You're right.
So there could be a connection.
It holds up aesthetically, I got you.
Yeah, you either have to have King's blood or you have to have blood of the first men.
Okay.
Bran has blood of the first men. That's what makes him a Stark. That's what makes him a Warg. And I think what makes him connected to the Children of the Forest through the earth they live in. Yeah. Only people in the North get those kinds of powers. And back in the day, they were Green Seers, but it's like he's like a Green Seer times 10. He's not just a Green Seer. They have to simplify in the show, but in the books they're much more clear about it. There are levels to this power. He is at the top level where there basically can only be one at a time. I want to see a lot of good things for Bran. I feel like the saddest ending would be if, like you said, all this turmoil, all this learning, all these years of practice, him being considered the chosen one, and then he doesn't turn the tide.
Yeah.
If he doesn't turn the tide, or whatever he does is super underwhelming, like, to this point, I've kind of joked that he's basically a glorified security camera. All he does is spy on the Night King with ravens and go, oh, he's over there. Oh, he's over there. Well, what happens when he comes, Bran? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do to stop him?
Yeah, because I think his saddest ending is actually for us, the audience, that all the time we invest, it doesn't pay off. Yeah. And I'm super worried about that.
I want to talk about what his big power might potentially be.
Go for it.
My prediction...
Let's move to top moments, and this prediction is a theory that's a top moment. What's the top moment?
It has to be something huge. Mm-hmm. And what's the Night King's biggest power? It's that he can raise his hands and bring all these dead people back to life to fight for him instantly.
Which we would say is probably warging in a way.
It is warging.
An undead warging.
They work in a hive mind, but they move at his command. Yeah. Whereas people brought back on the fire side, like Jon and Beric, they still are them. They're less them because a part of their soul is lost. And that makes sense. But they have their own consciousness. They fight for themselves. They make their own decisions. Mm-hmm. But they're brought back through lore. If Bran is truly against the Great Other, then his power has to be somehow connected
to fire.
Fire. And therefore, if he could do that, raise his hands in some way, or gloss his eyes over like Storm and X-Men or whatever the hell he does, and make all these dead people come back, fight for good, then it would even the odds and essentially turn the tide in a way that I think is worthy of the sacrifices that have happened so far. The problem with that is he gets his powers from the Children of the Forest. So does the Night King. If there's a Great Other and R'hllor, one of these gods has to be a falsity. Mm-hmm. It has to not be what it really is. Either it's pretending to be good and it's not good, it's bad, or it's pretending to be bad and it's not bad. It's just neutral or good. And there is a chapter of Melisandre talking about looking to the flames, seeing these two people who she considers to be clearly champions of the Great Other. One is described as a man made of wood. Clearly, that would be the Blood Raven or the Three-Eyed Raven, because in the books he's very much connected, intertwined with the wood. It's going through his eye socket and everything. And next to him, she sees a boy with a wolf's face. So maybe Bran is being duped into working for the wrong side this whole time. And maybe he is the Night King, maybe he is the Three-Eyed Raven, maybe he is Bran Stark. But whatever he's doing isn't truly to stop them. Yeah. Because it also could end up that they're the good guys.
But also, why would the North have a tool? Like, why would the Children of the Forest have a tool like the Weirwood Tree? Like, why would the Night King not be able to access those, or like make those work for him? That's in his homeland. That's of the magic that he's of. So you would think the Weirwood trees are probably a trap or
something.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that. I could see that.
What if the war against men never stopped?
Yeah.
What if they're truly there to wipe out all men?
On behalf of the Children of the Forest, and it's all
how many weirwood trees have been chopped down? How many of the old gods are the only gods we've ever seen actually do something? Mm-hmm. The Seven don't do anything. R'hllor does things, but what if R'hllor is fighting for life, and everything in the North, including the old gods and Bran Stark, are fighting for death because this land was better before men ever inhabited it?
Yeah, I'm with you.
That'd be the craziest twist. And George R. R. Martin said there's 3 twists. You've seen 2 with Hodor and Shireen's burning. This could be the 3rd one. Bran Stark, unbeknownst to him, is a double agent for the Great Other.
And he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That would be earth-shattering and horrible.
I think Bran's top moment hasn't come yet, because obviously the worst has got to be getting pushed out of that tower. Worst, for him, but
worse than necessary.
Worst, but good for the ultimate plot.
I would say it's being caught at Craster's Keep and all that.
Yeah,
or watching Summer die.
Yeah.
And Hodor.
I'm big on the calming Hodor down by ghostwriting him, and then ghostwriting out to the wolves to help Jon with the wildlings. That's a top moment for me. I think the top moment hasn't come yet, because he's got to ghost ride the dragon whip. That's what he's got to do. He's got to get that thing. He's got to get the suicide wings going up and down, and get the rims a spinning.
But his worst moment has to be when he gets touched, because he did something he wasn't supposed to do, and he gets
all his friends
all killed.
But still, that moment was necessary too to keep him going on the path. But
yeah,
you're
going
right.
slow. He could have learned more.
Yeah, you're right.
They had to like, oh shit, this place is burning down. Like, download and go. Yeah. Sucks. It's basically a walking flash drive.
Summer. Yeah,
a non-walking flash drive, I should say.
The summer moment's real bad. Like I'm like upset about it that the
dog squeal sound that they use whenever a direwolf dies makes my heart hurt in a ridiculously painful way.
Look, like I get it. Like people had to die, but like they could have had Leaf make her sacrifice with that whatever fairy bomb she had
a little earlier.
Yeah. Like I just wish Summer would have got out of there.
I know, because everyone's like talking about Hodor the next day, and I'm like, I get it. It's mostly about Hodor, but I was like, but you guys noticed that Summer died too,
yeah, because it's like the sequence of like they're not getting out of there fast enough, and then each person has to make like I'll sacrifice myself to save you guys.
Jump on the grenade.
I'll sacrifice myself. Yeah, everyone's doing that, and like even though I love that episode, there's almost too many of them, and like you could have just let Summer live, and I know why she didn't live for budgetary reasons and for.
It's 4 in a row though.
Yeah,
it really is. It's like boom, boom, boom. It's like they're literally each thin walls.
In my head, if we had dogs that we could train that were of the size that was needed, I do not believe that they would have killed Summer. Like I feel like that death was unnecessary. Like it makes me angry.
Well, there were so many of them. They were crawling on the ceiling. They attacked him from all angles. He jumped into like a mosh pit of whites, basically.
Now I'm gonna have to see a zombie Summer at some point. And I'm gonna be really upset about it.
I know. We're probably gonna see a zombie Hodor too, unless they really just are being nice this season.
Please, no. I just don't make that happen.
Yeah.
Oh no! Ghost on Summer, direwolf on direwolf violence.
Yeah, that might happen.
Okay.
Undead dragon versus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could be dragon on dragon and wolf on wolf.
Brother fighting brother. Blood in the streets. War will never end.
It'd be crazy.
Okay, so any other top or worst moments? Because I know we kind of want to probably dive into some more theories.
Yeah, I mean,
how are you feeling?
Yeah, there's so many more theories. Honestly, it's crazy. Like, because when we're theorizing about Bran, it's not like, oh, it could go one of 3 or 4 ways, like most characters. Mm-hmm. His powers are so unprecedented, so not really fully explained or shown that they could do anything. We're like, we could go back in time and he could become the Night King and never fight in the first Great Night or Long Night. Like he could go, he could work the undead dragon and kill itself to stop them, or he could work the Night King and it could be this crazy inner conscious battle. He could work a bunch of people and help them fight. He could bring back the kings of the north from the crypts of Winterfell and rise them all to fight as undead warriors of the north. He could do just about anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think what I would like to see the most is for Winterfell to fall. Okay. The Riverlands to fall. But as they're falling, Bran knows that his place isn't by the Trident where the battle will be happening. It's in the Godswood. Or not the Godswood, the God's Eye. And the Isle of Faces. The Isle of Faces is the only place south of the Neck that have weirwood trees, besides like the Godswood, I think, at King's Landing. But there's a whole island of weirwood trees that no men ever go there. The only one that ever was said to go there was Howland Reed. If Howland Reed took Bran Stark to the Isle of Faces, where there are still children of the forest, that can explain that one last unlocked ability of his that turns the tide. And it's something like taking over the Night King or undoing everything that's happened.
You're all in.
That's what I want. I want that all to mean something.
Your full threat level midnight erect, Casey.
I want all that to mean something. I want the Isle of Faces to mean something.
Yes, I'm with you.
The children, all of it.
It's got to mean something. I really
if it doesn't,
doubt
we riot.
That'll happen.
I know.
I doubt it, but I'm with you.
Show.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. I would, because that's a great idea, great theory. I'm into that kind of stuff, and I think more likely in the books than in the show.
It makes Howland's presence more important too.
It makes sense too. I wanted to say, so instead of doing like an award like we sometimes do, what I want to do is I want to do a best moments that if the theory of Bran influencing history is real. Yeah. What are some of the best moments that he could have been responsible for? So I want to start with when Tyrion's about to go up the stairs to escape. Like Bran's in the hallway and he just whispers Tywin, and it makes Tyrion turn around and remember, like, I have some business to finish. So like, what are some other things like that Bran could have been responsible for if he is?
He could have told Khaleesi to walk into the flames.
Flames.
And to sacrifice the lady.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, like that a lot.
That's one of the biggest moments of the entire series that changes the outcome severely, like a lot. I think maybe because some people think that the Three-Eyed Raven wanted Bran so bad to either be his replacement or to be a tool for whatever, great god they fight for, that Bran was known for climbing that tower that he got pushed out of all the time, and he would go up there and he would feed the crows. He would feed them with he would fill his pockets with corn, and in his dreams afterwards they're like, hey, what about the corn? And it's the Three-Eyed Raven talking to him in his dreams. So some people think that the Three-Eyed Raven, when he's in that window, he doesn't make a sound. A raven does. And that's when Cersei looks up, and that's what dooms him to get pushed out. But what if Bran did it himself? What if Bran knew he needed to get pushed, and he made the crow make a sound? So he started it.
What if Jaime wasn't going to push him, and Bran whispers to Jaime, push him?
The things I do for love. Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, there's a lot of
there's a lot of things
Targaryen
that could
stuff.
Be him, yeah.
Yeah, that's all really cool stuff. Building the wall is really important. All that kind of stuff. There's so many things in history.
Driving the Mad King crazy is one of the things that really just in my head, I'm like, man, that'd be so terrible. But if they could pull it off, that'd be pretty crazy. If he was the one who did it, either on accident or on purpose, because he knew what he needed to do to get him to where he needs to be.
Yeah, maybe if he could have influenced something to save Jon, maybe in one of those.
Yeah, because if moments. Ned's dad and his older brother never died, Ned never becomes his position. Bran's never born because he never has to get married. Cat, it's all these dominoes.
The horrible things
Cat marries his brother. Happen. Yeah, it's all this stuff that the horrible things have to happen for him to exist. So him being the influential item,
he could have happened. What if he warged into Brandon, Ned's older brother, when he was battling Littlefinger, and he was going to kill him, but then he stops and he lets him just be wounded because Littlefinger is also necessary for all these dominoes to fall.
I like it.
A lot of stuff.
Do I think it'll happen? No, because I don't think they will undo so much lore or do so many. You
just have to explain so much.
That's a Breaking Bad level of a bow to tie, and not everyone can do that.
And unfortunately, we only have 6 episodes.
Yeah.
May they be long. May they be great.
As long as the night.
Yeah. This long night has been too long.
For the night without the season has been long and full of terrors.
Oh, so many terrors.
All right, any other theories you got there for Bran?
More than I can count, but as of right now, I think the best ones are the ones we've talked about.
Yeah.
Him being the Night King, him being Bran the Builder, him influencing the Mad King.
Riding the waves of time like he's...
It's just changing history. The thing that I could imagine happening that would be the most upsetting to me, because if we're talking about a bittersweet ending, this would be the most bittersweet ending for me, is if he does go back in time and it's like a butterfly effect sort of thing, where he makes it to where none of it ever happened.
Oh no.
If none of this ever happened, if he goes back to the end of the
Robert never dies?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He stops Leaf from making the Night King.
Oh.
He stops Leaf from making the Night King, and he talks sense into whoever's leading the first men to be peaceful. And the wall never gets built. None of this ever happens. Robert's Rebellion, the Starks, the Lannisters, all that stuff never happens the way we know it. That would be so fucked up, because then everything means nothing. It'd be like it's all a dream moment.
Yeah, we don't want that.
The most cop-outy version you could ever think of. If he does something like that, it's well within his power to do, I would hate him for it. Yeah. Then we both have the same least favorite character at that point. I'll say that. How about that? I would hate his guts.
All right. Well, then that brings us to the end of this episode of On the Case.
It's going to be much better than that, guys. I promise.
No, well, it's it's interesting. This is the longest episode we've ever done.
I knew it would be. Yeah. I knew it would be.
Yeah. So, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back with another episode soon. As always, this show is brought to you by Alter Reality Entertainment. They are the creators of Empire State Comic-Con. That's happening this April in Albany, New York. Check it out, escomiccon.com. Who do we want to do next time, Casey? I know you're going to look at the list here.
I believe next time we've got slated Dolores Ed and the fate of the remaining Night's Watch.
Yeah, like just the Night's Watch as an idea.
Mm-hmm. And as a group and what the future holds for the Night's Watch.
Yeah, I'm into that. All right, thank you guys for listening so much.
See you guys next time.